What is up, YouTube? That's here, bringing you guys another top 5 video. Today, we are going to be taking a look at my top 5 grass types in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I've done a lot of these lists already. I think I've done like 5 or 6 of them. And if I were to think about it, I would think there are more grass types in this game. But in reality, there's not. There's a lot of bug types, and there's a lot of grass types, and there's a couple Pokemon that overlap, like Parasect, for example, but in reality, there's not that many grass types. I guess there's just a lot of green Pokemon, because I know there's like a ton of water types. There were a ton of normal types, but yeah, grass types, not as common as you would believe. So what we're going to do, for those of you guys that haven't seen this type of video, we're going to be hopping into this one. We're going to be looking at every single grass type in the game. We're going to show you my top 5 grass types. I'm going to show you guys natures, movesets, everything you need to know, and then we're going to look at some TMs that everything can learn once everything's all sorted out. So hopefully you guys like this type of content. Again, if you do like the video, if you do make it to the end, please leave a comment below. Let me know if you watched the whole thing, and let me know what type you want to see me work on next. We've done bug, water, electric, fire, normal, and ice. So we're about halfway through. We're getting close. So guys, let me know what type you want to see in the comments below, as we're going to look at, my top 5 grass types. Yeah, this is all the fully evolved grass Pokemon there in the game. There's Parasect, Vileplume, Tangela, Victreebel, 2 different Exeggutor forms, and Venusaur. So a top 5 should be pretty easy, you would think. But, you know, what 2 Pokemon are going to get the axe? What 2 Pokemon indeed? I wonder if you can guess where we're going to be starting off. And I know this is going to take a lot of people by surprise, because a lot of people would probably put this Pokemon in their top 3, I think. But I'm actually going to be starting off with regular Exeggutor. Peace out, Alolan Golem. Maybe in that rock list, no, I'm saying, or maybe a top 5 Alola list. Ooh, I could probably make one of those as well. But yeah, when we talk about Exeggutor, this thing is a grass psychic, and it actually has a couple unique traits that a lot of other grass types don't have. When we look at the other grass types, you know, we can see a common theme. We see Venusaur, grass poison, Vileplume, grass poison, Victreebel, grass poison. Exeggutor's a psychic type. It learns the move Psychic. It stabs the move Psychic. Remember, stabs that same type attack boost. So, Exeggutor has super effective moves against almost all the other grass types in the game. And that's something you can't really be underrated. So, like, you know, a lot of people just would go with the common Venusaur. Like, if a lot of people need, like, a grass type in their team, they're like, I'm just going to throw Venusaur in, I'll be fine. Well, you know, once the meta evolves, if you were to start throwing in Exeggutors, well, now your grass type beats their grass type very easily. Of course, they have super effective moves against you as well in Sludge Bomb, but, you know, it's all in how you play it. So, for Exeggutor, there's a couple different natures you can really choose to run on this thing. Note that mine's Rash. Do not use Rash. It's just like, that's kind of just what I had on hand. I'd really recommend something like Modest. Some people like, Calm and Bold. I think Timid's also usable. Let's actually check. I want to make sure I'm giving you guys the correct info here. So we're actually going to check Exeggutor's base speed. I just want to make sure, because I don't want to give you guys incorrect information. It's been a hot minute since I've actually used this thing for like super competitive games. So Exeggutor's base speed, 55, not that great. So again, yeah, Timid, probably not going to be optimal, but, you know, it is an option. It'll probably let you outspeed, like, you know, those speed-natured Rhydons and stuff like that, and that could totally trick people and take them off guard. But yeah, more often than not, this thing is a special attacker. This thing's kind of like one of those tank Pokemon. It can tank a lot of damage. Very unique typing in Grass Psychic, by the way. Of course, you're 4 times weak to Bug. It's one of the few Pokemon in the game that actually has a 4 times weakness, but other than that, you know, you're going to be able to wall, like, a lot of really weird attacks. One thing before I start talking really about Exeggutor, by the way, I did say use Modest. Use Modest. Don't set until you use Modest. We're going to talk about a common theme about grass types. So if we look at most of these, so let's look at Parasect, Vileplume, Victreebel, regular Exeggutor, and Venusaur. One thing they have all in common, other than being grass types, is all of these Pokemon actually resist fighting type moves, and I think that's really unique because they all have like different typing. There's 3 poison grasses, and you know, poison resists fighting, and then there's a bug grass that also resists fighting on the bug typing, and then psychic grass, so it's another fighting resist. So it actually makes a lot of people tend to believe that grass resists fighting, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if some of you guys watching this didn't know that. If you didn't know that grass is technically neutral against fighting, let me know in the comments below. This is the type of stuff that I want to like put inside your head, that grass does not resist fighting. And that it's just a common occurrence that a lot of the secondary types for grass do share the fighting type resist. So when we get into talking about other Pokemon, like maybe Tangela or Alolan Exeggutor, those Pokemon don't resist fighting, and being able to resist fighting is really, really good, because a Pokemon like Exeggutor, for example, one of the reasons why we're talking about regular Exeggutor in particular is you do resist fighting. And not only do you resist fighting, you're super effective against fighting with your Stab Psychic. So in this situation, if you know your team's like pretty weak to fighting, you got a Pokemon like Snorlax or like a Chansey in your team, Exeggutor is a perfect partner for that Pokemon. Switch in on the superpower, switch in on the fighting attack, and slam a huge Psychic stabbed back in their face. This thing has a huge base special attack stat. I want to say it's like 120 or higher. It might even be a little bit higher. But you're going to one-shot every single fighting Pokemon in the game with this Psychic if you're modest-natured. The rest of my moveset is pretty default. Note that I have Hypnosis. If you were actually to keep your Exeggutor as an Execute, let's hit the handy-dandy notebook. You guys can tell Exeggutor is not my cup of tea, as they say. Exeggutor is not my cup of tea. I'm having to hit the notebook and hit the internets for some speed tier info. But yeah, we're going to talk about Exeggutor and what level you actually have to keep it as an Execute to get Sleep Powder. So if you keep it as an Execute until you are level 20, you'll have Sleep Powder. Otherwise, if you evolve it into an Exeggutor, you're gonna have to like Heart Scale Hypnosis, and that's the one that I have right here. It just Heart Scales Hypnosis. And remember, Sleep Powder has 15 more base accuracy than Hypnosis. Sleep Powder is 75, Hypnosis is at 60. So Sleep Powder is much better. If you have the option to have Sleep Powder on your Exeggutor, I would definitely recommend it. Another move that's really worth using, level 34. If you're using the official notebook here, you can see Execute learns Leech Seed at level 34. That's another pretty good move. Other common moves that this Pokemon can get through Heart Scale moves. That's pretty much it. This thing, again, is mostly going to be a special attacker. It has a much higher base special attack than physical attack, and, you know, it's pretty good. I've always thought Exeggutor is pretty good. Like I said, also has Sludge Bomb on here. You may be thinking, like, why do you even have Sludge Bomb? Right now, I just have Sludge Bomb because, you know, I don't have Leech Seed. I probably would rather have Leech Seed on here, but I just wanted to note that it gets Sludge Bomb, so you can technically hit a lot of those other grass Pokemon if you wanted to, like in the Exeggutor Mirror match, if that's at all a thing. Sludge Bomb is going to be super effective, so Exeggutor is a really, really good Pokemon, but I do only think it gets 5th in my list because it has a 4x weakness, 2 bug, and, you know, it has other common weaknesses like Ice, Fire, Dark. Like, a lot of the things, like it being a Psychic type, it's weak to Ghost. So, a lot of the things that are out there to KO, like Mewtwo's and Alakazams, also, like, accidentally KO or really hit Exeggutor hard for super effective damage. So, it's kind of hard to use this thing, but it's definitely usable, and I know it's going to gain popularity as the meta evolves. So, that's the 5th Pokemon. Guys, we're moving on to the 4th Pokemon. What do you think the 4th Pokemon is? I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking Tangela sucks. Tangela does not actually suck. We're not going to talk about it right now, but Tangela's pretty decent. The 4th Pokemon's actually going to be a Alolan Exeggutor. And a lot of you guys are like, whoa, I don't even know what this does. And that's right. No one knows what this Pokemon does. And it's one of the few Dragon types in the game. Remember, once you go Alolan Exeggutor, you actually gain Dragon typing. And note that mine's Bashful. I do not recommend Bashful. I'm going to talk about natures in a sec. But yeah, so we're Grass Dragon, another Pokemon that has a 4x weakness. And you may be thinking, like, that's come on, you could have just included both these at 5th or 4th if you really wanted to. But their movesets are so different and their playstyles are so different that I actually wanted to include 2 separate spots on the list for this Pokemon. So for Alolan Exeggutor, I would 100% recommend that you go Adamant Nature. And there's a few reasons why. We're going to talk about some specific calcs on a lot of very popular Pokemon if you are Adamant or an attack boosting nature. So that's like Adamant, Brave, Lonely, and there's probably one more. What is the one that boosts attack and lowers special D? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm brain farting on this right now. Maybe someone will let me know in the comments below, but that's not a great nature. You want to go Adamant. Adamant is the way. I've also seen people use stuff like Impish and Careful, but remember, you may be wondering, like, that's so why are you recommending all these physical natures? Like, why are you using physical nature? This thing's a physical attacker, my guys. You're a dragon. You gotta deal with those big dragon attacks. Look at this moveset. Now, I want to talk about this at the start. You have to use Hypnosis on Alolan Exeggutor because you trade in-game for one. You trade, like, regular Exeggutors for Alolan Exeggutors straight up, so you don't even have an option of getting, like, Sleep Powder. It's not like you're taking an Execute and then turning it into a Alolan Exeggutor. You're taking an already evolved Exeggutor and trading it for one that's already evolved. So you have to go Hypnosis, and if you want to use Hypnosis, that's fine. You don't really have to. It doesn't really matter. Look at this moveset. You got Earthquake. Got that big damage. You got that huge power whoop, 120 base, and you got a huge outrage. You stab both these moves. Now this Pokemon, if we can kind of look at its stats here, again, this one's only level 19. It's not like the greatest example. Its special attack is just a little bit higher than its attack, and that's going to be multiplied as its stats go up. But its physical move pool is so much better than its special move pool. In certain regards. I mean, it actually gets a lot of really good special TMs. We're going to check out that when we check out the TM section of the video. But, man, physical attackers are so good, and when someone sees something like an Alolan Exeggutor or any Exeggutor, for example, they're like, oh, I can just switch in my Snorlax, I can just switch in my Muck. Well, no, you can't. You just can't. I can switch in my Chansey. You cannot switch in your Chansey. I can switch in my Venusaur. You can't switch in your Venusaur. I'm gonna mess that thing up. So, like, this Pokemon hits super hard. It's like, oh, Exeggutor. Like, let's say, this is the type of Pokemon that has such an untapped skill ceiling. Same goes for regular Exeggutor. As the meta evolves, as, like, teams stabilize and become really, like, stale and solid, this is the type of Pokemon that come in and break things up. You know, you see me use a lot of Electrode. More often than not, if I was, you know, if I had my Electrode lead and they had an Exeggutor, I'm like, what's he gonna do? Leech Seed me? Sleep Powder? I should probably taunt it. I would totally taunt one of these things. And you know what he'd hit me with? He'd hit me with an Earthquake. And Earthquake actually can one-shot Electrode. I think it's like a 94 to 102 to one-shot Electrode against other electric types. Let's talk about that other calcs. It one-shots any Raichu. It one-shots Electabuzz, Magneton. Those are really common electric types. I'm pretty sure it one-shots Jolteon. I didn't do the exact calc. Maybe someone can pull up that calc. But, you know, if it can pretty much one-shot an Electrode, it can pretty much one-shot a Jolteon as well. So, you know, again, this Pokemon is super underrated. Power Up, huge damage. Outrage, humongous damage. They're the same base move, but, you know, completely different offensive typings. And I do feel this Pokemon has, like, a very different playstyle compared to the other Exeggutor, because this Pokemon is preying on the fact that your opponent does not know the matchup and is switching incorrectly. But again, this Pokemon could also totally be special. You can go like Mega Drain, you can go Dragon Pulse, you can go all those other wonderful moves. It also gets like Flamethrower and stuff. So if you want to go special, that's fine. I personally feel a physical Alolan Exeggutor is very unique and something that would be a ton of fun to play with if I had one that was like super competitive. So hopefully you like the physical Alolan Exeggutor, but we're going to be moving on to number 3. We got the top 3. Oh man, we got the top 3. I know a couple of you guys already know the sets that I like for a couple of these Pokemon. We're going to move on to top 3, and it's going to be Victory Bell. Victory Bell, the first grass poison to make it onto the list. We're going to check out what makes Victory Bell a little bit special. Again, it's another physical Pokemon. Again, this Pokemon is going to be a setup mon, somewhat of a sweeper. Victory Bell, I think it's best Adamant, but I've also seen people use Jolly Victory Bell. It's completely up to your personal playstyle, how your team's built versus what you're trying to fight in other teams. Victory Bell has a decent base speed. I'm pretty sure it's like 70 or 75. So it totally can be used Jolly, but I think Adamant's better because if we look at the moveset we're using on this Victory Bell in particular, it has Swords Dance. Remember, Swords Dance, it's one of the few Pokemon that still learn this move in Generation 1. It's going to double your attack stat. And remember, your attack stat, if you look at your stats, it's not like terrible. It's actually pretty dang good, you know, for a level 54 Pokemon. It's pretty good attack. You double it, and you're going to be one-shotting everyone with these Power Whips. Like, if someone takes neutral damage from this Power Whip, they are KO'd. If they are using a Mew, they are KO'd. If they're using a Snorlax, they are KO'd. Those Pokemon just get deleted by a +2 Power Whip. And for other Pokemon, let's say like Mewtwo, Mega Mewtwo, Gengar, see, I'm talking about some pretty popular Pokemon, you got Sucker Punch for those things. And a lot of people do know that Victory Bell gets Sucker Punch at this point in the game, but you're still also going to find a lot of people that don't, and even if they do, there's a lot of people whose movesets still allow them to get hit by Sucker Punch. So the way Sucker Punch works is it's a 70 base move, it's a priority move, but it only works if the opponent is also using another move that deals damage. So if like they're going for a Psychic on you, and you go for a Sucker Punch, it's going to hit them before they use Psychic, and they are going to take the big damage, the super effective Sucker Punch if they're like a Psychic type. But let's say they're using like Calm Mind or Recover or like Thunder Wave or something like that, Sucker Punch is going to fail. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You have to be pretty smart to use Sucker Punch a lot of the time. And remember, you only have 5 PP on this move, so I'd really recommend PP maxing it. But it gives Victory Bell like a really unique typing being like dark and grass. So the way you're going to want to play Victory Bell is you're going to come in. More often than not, you're going to go for like a sleep powder on something, put things to sleep, pop a Swords Dance, and you are just going to sweep the heck out of people. I have some pretty cool Victory Bell games coming up on the channel. This Pokemon is actually really, really good, and this Victory Bell in particular was given to me by one of my Discord members, a very, very cool guy. I really appreciate people like coming in hot, donating some Pokemon so we can actually see these things used to their fullest potential in competitive play. So that is Victory Bell. We're going to be talking about some TMs that can get a little bit later, but it's a very one-dimensional Pokemon the way I like to run it. Let me know if you like the same Victory Bell set in the comments below. Maybe you run something a little bit different. Maybe you don't. I think this is probably the best way to run it. So that is number 3. We are breezing through this list. Most likely because, like, you know, a lot of you guys are already really familiar with a lot of these sets. I'm not really breaking the game that much other than my Alolan Exeggutor set, because that's pretty lit. We still have to add these Pokemon to the team. Let's add them to the team in their correct order. Oh, you know, I'm gonna take a little side time, right? I'm gonna take some side time, and I'm gonna show you guys something awesome. Have you guys ever taken Alolan Exeggutor out and had it follow you? It's pretty good. Exeggutor, let's go. Look at this thing. Look how freaking huge it is! Look how huge it is! It's bigger than the trees in Viridian Forest! It's just an absolute monster! Oh my goodness. I think it would have been cool if you were like on top of it and you could have used this as like a flying type in certain situations to catch like flying Pokemon like Aerodactyl or Charizard and stuff like that. Or not like Aerodactyl, but you get an idea. Like catch Pokemon that are flying, like Pidgeot, legendary birds and stuff like that. I think that'd be a cool little mechanic, but they didn't include it. So that's a little bit of a detour, but we're moving on to the top 3. Moving on up into the top 3, and the top 3, or the top 2. Top 2. We already have top 3. Victory Bell's number 3. So who's number 2 then? There's still a couple pretty good picks if you know how I like to play the game. It's going to be Venusaur, actually. I think Venusaur's actually worse than the other Pokemon that's number 1. And you may be thinking that's crazy. This is the only Pokemon on the list that can Mega Evolve. It's obviously the best Poison Grass Pokemon. It has amazing stats all around. Note that I'm using a sassy one. I've talked about that before. We'll talk about that on the next Pokemon as well. A lot of people really like timid and like hasty Venusaurs because you can go first, set those sleep powders, you can like Earthquake Mux and Earthquake like electric types and stuff like that. I've seen Earthquake used on Venusaur so often. Remember, Venusaur has like an 80 base speed, so if you want to go with like a plus speed nature and outspeed a lot of random Pokemon that you normally wouldn't and catch people off guard, you totally can. Like, I hate it when I'm using like an Articuno and like a Venusaur outspeeds me. I'm like, whoa, that's not supposed to happen. Same goes for like Moltres. I'm like, what are you doing going first? Who said you can go first against me? It definitely catches me off guard. Same goes for like Mega Gyarados. So I'm using like my Mega Gyarados and this Venusaur is just outspeeding me. It totally takes me off my game. But, you know, I do recommend those speed natures if you want to have that playstyle. I prefer a more bulky playstyle. Sassy's going to raise your special defense and lower your speed. And again, like I said, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But other positive natures are going to be like Modest. This Pokemon predominantly uses special attacks. You can use stuff like Bold. You can use stuff like Calm. Those are all wonderful natures, and there's nothing really wrong with them at all. So, yeah, what makes Venusaur pretty good? The fact that it gets a Mega Evolution. This thing, unfortunately, doesn't have an ability in this game, but you gain a bunch of defensive stats upon Mega Evolving. And the way I like to play this Pokemon, I definitely use it as a sub-seeder. You got the move Substitute, you got the move Leech Seed, you got Mega Drain and Sleep Powder. I showed this moveset, I showed this Pokemon off in my Eevee video yesterday. If you watched that, you know, great. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching my content. If not, I could probably leave a link to that in the comments below showing a couple teams made around the Venusaur for the most part. I just want to say that this is my default moveset. If you want to copy this moveset, it works great. And if you check out some other videos that I might leave in the description, it will show you guys how to play with this Venusaur as well. But the only move that you could kind of mix into this exact moveset would be taking something like Substitute off for something like Sludge Bomb, or maybe Mega Drain for Sludge Bomb, just in case you want to improve your matchup versus like grass types and fairy types. But I don't think you actually need it. Also, I guess it helps you fight against like flying types with Sludge Bomb, things like Zapdos, for example. So Venusaur, pretty good. It's super bulky. It's the only Mega on the list, but there is a Pokemon that is better than Venusaur. I'm not kidding. I know y'all know who it is. I know anyone who's watched any of my videos knows who it is. It's Parasect. Parasect is top 5 best non-legendary Pokemon, in my opinion. This Pokemon was the #1 bug Pokemon, and of course, I think it's the #1 grass Pokemon. And some of you guys maybe think, like, that's How are you actually going to tell me that Parasect is better than Venusaur? Well, I just talked about the fact that Venusaur is a Subseeder. That is how I like to play it. I think that is the best potential way to play that Pokemon. You have Sleep Powders, you have Leech Seeds, you have Substitutes, and you kind of wall them out. Parasect just does that better. I think it almost has better typing, almost in the fact that, unfortunately, it takes 4 times weakness to, like, Flying and Fire, but it doesn't take super effective damage from Psychic, and Psychics are the most common type in the game. And not only does it not take super effective damage from Psychic, it has moves that are super effective against Psychic Pokemon. Leech Life does so much damage. You have a decent base attack stat. It's such a good Pokemon. I'm actually going to take a hot minute to explain why Sassy is the nature to go on these Pokemon, because I get a couple comments every single day, and I don't think people get it. I got one in particular the other day saying, you know, like, why are you sassy? I thought Timid was the best, or I thought Jolly was the best. Don't you always want to go first? No, you don't always want to go first. On Pokemon like Venusaur and Parasect, what you want to do is, since you're so defensive, you want to soak the damage. Let them hit you with the Shadow Ball. Let them hit you with the Thunderbolt. Let them hit you with an Earthquake, Rock Slide, Scald, anything, even super effective moves like Ice Beam and stuff like that. You're probably going to be okay. You're very bulky with these Pokemon, especially if you have these specialty boosted natures. And remember, I just want to talk about my Parasect example. It's not only that I'm going sassy, which lowers my speed. I have like as close to 0 IVs in speed as possible because I want to go as slow as possible, and in doing so, I'm going to be able to use Spore. Now, Spore is the only 100% accuracy grass move in the game, and it 100%, sorry, not the 100% accuracy grass move, the only 100% accuracy sleep move in the game. And the way it works, the way sleep turns work, okay, is you go for a Spore. Or a Sleep Powder for Venusaur, and you're going to put them to sleep, right? And so the way sleep turns work is the very first turn. I'm going to repeat that because I think my computer just, like, I think it just muted itself. Every single time my computer, like, blacks out for a sec, it goes into, like, rest mode, I think it mutes me for a sec. But anyways, so the way it works is, when you use Sleep Powder or Spore, the first turn that any Pokemon is asleep, they have to be asleep. So let's say you go first, and you use Sleep Powder. That turn you use Sleep Powder or Spore, if you hit them, they have to be asleep that turn. The same thing works if you go second. If you go second and use Spore or Sleep Powder, right, they have to be asleep the next turn that they use it. So if they switch out and come back, that first turn they come back in, they have to be asleep. If you're using Spore and they stay in, well, that first turn that they're still staying in, they have to be asleep. And so during that turn that they have to be asleep, you can take that time to set up a substitute. You can take that time to set up a Leech Seed. You can take that time to switch out to something else if you have something else that's better for the situation. It is a guaranteed free turn. And I know I've talked about it. I think this Pokemon is like so good because you automatically get it off. Another reason you want to go last in this situation is the fact that you're using Substitute. So Substitute works the same way. So once you get your Spores off, once you get your Leech Seeds off, what you're going to do is you're going to want to, like, set up your Substitutes, right? And so eventually they are going to wake up. And so all you have to do is kind of like spam Substitute. So, like, let's say you have your Leech Seed up, you have your Spore, and you have everything up. You're set. You're behind a sub. You got the Leech Seeds up, and you're doing your job. You're gonna be waiting for them to wake up. So eventually they're gonna wake up. They're going to break your sub, and the whole time you're just spamming Substitute. So you're spamming Substitute again the turn they wake up. So their next turn, they're going to break that sub you just set. You put them back to sleep with Spore, and you restart the whole process. And that's only possible with this Parasect set if you are going second. If you're going first, it's a little bit harder to pull off in certain scenarios. You take a little bit more risk going first versus second. You're a little bit safer once you're fully set up. So I really like going second. Hopefully you guys get it. If you don't get it, I will take my time to explain it in the comments below, but just let me know if you have any more questions about it. That's just how I see it. I think going second with moves like Spore and Sub is preferable, but that's just my opinion. So that is actually going to be my top 5 grass types. I was pretty fast. I went pretty fast for this one because you know, a lot of these Pokemons have very similar playstyles, very similar movesets. Again, Exeggutor, really good Psychic type. It brings something different to the table. Alolan Exeggutor, obviously extremely different physical attacker, but disguised as a special attacker. So you're going to be able to pick off their special walls that they switch to wall this thing. Like I said, it really punishes things like Muck, Snorlax. It also can learn things like Superpower. We're going to talk about the TM list in just a moment. Victreebel's super good. I think it's like the standard Pokemon. It's like it's the middle ground between these two things, because it's not as bad as Exeggutor, but it's also not like a sub-seeder like Parasect or Venusaur. It's the middle ground between the two sides, and you got the two really, really good sub-seeders. I really wanted to include Vileplume and Tangela, and I'm going to briefly talk about them here. The one thing Tangela has above all these other Pokemon is it's the only grass-only type. So it does not have weaknesses to Psychic. It does not have weaknesses to a bunch of the other stuff. Like, doesn't have weaknesses to Ghost or Dark. It doesn't have weaknesses to any other weird thing. It's just grass. It has weaknesses to fire, it has weakness to ice, it has weakness to bug and flying, and that's it. And you can't really put a price on that. And if we're going to compare Tangela to like Parasect, for example, Tangela has 5 more base has 5 more base HP. It has like 20 or 30 base more defense, but it has a lot less special defense. And so, it's not like amazing, but it's also just a great sub-seeder. I would say if you don't want to use Parasect, if you don't want to use Venusaur, and you have a Tangela that has like Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Substitute, all those things, it's a great Pokemon. Also, it gets Amnesia, which kind of sets it apart from the rest of these Pokemon. So Tangela is definitely usable. I just didn't really have one that was like high enough level. Like if you look at my Tangela, it's like Hardy, which is bad. And I don't have the moves that I need. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't talk about Tangela. I felt it would have been easier to talk about these other Pokemon, and also I really do think Exeggutor is pretty good. But Tangela, Phantom 6 Mon, Tangela's pretty good. As for Vileplume, Vileplume's also pretty good, but I almost feel it's like a complete opposite, or it's like a special attack version of the Victory Bell. Vileplume, the only really thing that it brings to the table that none of these other Pokemon do is it learns moves like Moonblast. And I think you actually have to keep it, I don't know if you have to keep it as Gloom to get Moonblast, but getting Moonblast is a 95 base fairy move, and that's really weird. Like, if we think about moves, like, if we think about grass Pokemon in general, more often than not, they're, like, walled by flying types, and, let's think of some common flying types, like Dragonite. Moonblast Super Vector is Dragonite. That's kind of cool. You can use Moonblast against things like Zapdos. Zapdos special attacker, that's pretty good. It's just a really uncommon, move choice that you wouldn't really expect. It's good. It makes you good against like Machamps and other fighting types. Makes you good against those dark types. Like, it brings stuff to the table, but I think it's a little bit too slow and not nearly bulky enough to be used in a competitive setting. Maybe I'll use it in the future. I do not really have one that is made for competitive play yet, but there's always a possibility that I bust it out as like a meme team or something like that. So we're going to take the time here and we're going to look at some TMs that all these Pokemon can do. This is the second part of the video, and the reason I do this is so I can show that, sure, I think my movesets are very good, but I also want to talk about the fact that there are always other moves to use, and I want to show you guys that just because I say something's good, that does not mean copy THATSA. He knows exactly what he's doing. Like, all my movesets are general movesets, or movesets that are very specific for certain teams, and in those situations I usually describe the situations in which they're going to be good. But I always want to say that, like, Brick Break on Exeggutor, Alolan Exeggutor could be really good in a very specific team that needs that sort of thing. And I want to let you guys know that each one of these Pokemon have like more strengths than just what I show them when I show their movesets. So hopefully you guys usually last this long, because I think this is the part of the video that helps you guys grow as players, and knowing what learns what, this is what helps you. You may not think about it, but when you're just playing games on ladder, you're gonna think like, oh yeah, I remember that this Pokemon learns that TM. I saw that in THATSA's video about normal types or grass types. Like, this is the type of thing where I'm like teaching you guys, I'm ingraining it in your minds, what moves these Pokemon learn. And memorizing this stuff, this is like the first step in becoming better players. In my opinion, that's what worked for me. Like, back in the day, the one way that I knew what learned what was I just looked at it, what learned what TMs, and I looked up every single move every single Pokemon can learn on like sites like Maryland and Cerebi and stuff like that. So I think if you guys are just learning to take that next step into becoming better players, this is a good way to put it in your brain. It's like flashcards. I'm telling you guys what learns what. So Brick Break, obviously, Exeggutor can get it. Do I think that's really good? Probably not, because it does also get superpower, which we're going to talk about later, but being able to break screens is like really good. And now you know that the only one of these Pokemon that can break screens is Alolan Exeggutor. No one's half the battle, guys. Calm Mind, unfortunately none of these guys learn it, but Calm Mind's a really good move. I really would love to see Calm Mind on regular Exeggutor, but unfortunately it can't learn it, so never lucky. Dark Pulse, again, 80 base power moves aren't that great. Shadow Ball is the only one that's sometimes usable, but again, that's only really usable on something like Exeggutor, in my opinion. So Drill Run, not that great. Dragon Pulse, you can totally use this on Alolan Exeggutor. And like I said, Alolan Exeggutor has a higher base special attack. So if you want to use a special-based Alolan Exeggutor, feel free to use Dragon Pulse on that thing. It's a great move. Base 85, you're going to stab that thing. It's going to be super strong. You're going to pick up some KOs. It does one-shot things like Charizard X. I've done it in the video before, and I can definitely recommend it. Dig's not that great, but apparently Parasect can learn it. No one's half the battle. Dazzling Gleam's not that great. Vileplume can get Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast. The only benefit in using Dazzling Gleam, even though it has lower base power, is that it hits 2 Pokemon in doubles. Maybe that's something that works for you guys, maybe not. EQ, we got that on Alolan Exeggutor. Like I said, it's also very common on Venusaur sets to punish things like electric types and more commonly the Alolan Muck, which does a great job of like walling out Venusaur. Also makes Venusaur a bit of a mixed attacker because, as again, Earthquake is a physical attack. So let's see what else we got. Fasade's not that great in any of these guys. Fire Blast, nope. Fire Punch, and believe it or not, Alolan Exeggutor, being a dragon type, can breathe fire. Bet you guys didn't know he gets fire, or flamethrower, sorry. Bet you didn't know it gets flamethrower. It totally gets flamethrower. I think it's really awesome that it does get flamethrower. But when making the set, I really thought about it, and I'm like, I guess I'd use it if I was using special attacks, but it'd be between Flamethrower and Sludge Bomb, and I think it just depends on what your team's strengths and weaknesses are. Flamethrower is probably better than Sludge Bomb in this exact situation, though. Flash Cannon, no one's learning. No flies, unfortunately. I actually thought about Foul Play on a couple of these Pokemon, and I think it'd be really cool on like an Exeggutor set, but unfortunately doesn't learn it, so, you know, never lucky. No Ice Punch, no Ice Beams, Helping Hand, none of these things have hands, so that's completely fair. Headbutt's not really great, they don't really stab it. Let's see. Hold on, if my computer just went into rest mode. I got a comment saying every time my computer's in rest mode, it does like every 10 or 15 minutes, it mutes the audio, so that's why I take seconds to like refresh it. But light screen here. Why did things go on light screen? Light screen's great. This is gonna sound stupid. You guys are gonna hate me. I promise you're gonna hate me. But you gotta let me ride this out. So Parasect running white screen. Parasect can actually run dual screens, and I didn't know that. I mean, of course, it kind of makes sense that it could, but it wouldn't really be something I would think of. And so I was looking up just stuff on YouTube, and I realized that a lot of people kind of know me for Parasect, and they only really found my channel because of Parasect, and a lot of people just really like the fact that I run Parasect. For a lot of people, I'm the Parasect guy, and that's cool. I really like Parasect. I like that you guys like that I like Parasect. But then I've also seen like a lot of other Poketubers recently come out and hop on the Parasect bandwagon, and I do not blame them. One thing that I liked, or that I know a lot of people do, I don't really do this, is they go to YouTube and they see like, alright, what's popular for the game that I'm playing? What are the popular Pokemon right now? That's how they familiarize themselves with the meta. And so they see like something's popular and they try to work that into their own content. So I make a Parasect, probably like 4 or 5 Parasect videos. They're very popular. They get anywhere from like 10 to 40,000 views each. And then next week, we see all the other Poketubers hopping on the Parasect bandwagon. And I'm not saying they're copying. I'm just saying that they are being affected by what I'm being put off. It's just adapting to the meta. There's nothing wrong with that. But I came across a video where it was a certain Poketuber whose name starts with V. He who will not be named. I've never really seen one of his videos before. And I decided to give it a little watch. And he talked about how he likes dual screens on Parasect. And I'm like, huh. Me being the Parasect guy, you'd think I would know that. But I just didn't really think about it. I personally still think Babu set's better. But I applaud him for like trying something different. And you can totally get value out of dual screens with Parasect. I can totally see that set working. He didn't use Sub, and I would really recommend Sub. I think his sets were like dual screens, Spore, and I don't know if he ran. I don't remember what he did use on his last set. Maybe someone knows, but it wasn't something I would use. I think it was like actually Protect or something, but it was kind of weird. But either way, I was like, oh cool, dual screens. That's unique. Moving on. That's pretty much it. So, well, all I'm trying to say is, you know, you learn something new every day, and the Parasect learn dual screens. I guess that's kind of cool. Humbled myself. That's a great way of putting it. Mega Drain's good on all these things. They're all grass types. They can learn it. Victreebell's not that awesome because it's a physical attacker, but again, Alolan Exeggutor can be a special attacker. Parasect, I mean, if you don't want to use Leech Life, which I highly recommend, you can totally use Mega Drain. It's not as good because it's special attack stats lower, but you know, you totally can if like rock types and, you know, ground types are more of a problem for you than, than Psychics you can hit with X's or sorry, Leech Life. Outrage, We got it on Exeggutor, but Venusaur also learns it. That's kind of funny. You wouldn't really expect that, but it learns it. There's the Reflect. Every single one of these things can learn Reflect. So if you're looking for some dual screeners, we got a lot of them. They can learn, Victory Bell can't learn Light Screen, but other than that, all these things can learn both screens. Very underrated. Psychic, note that Alolan Exeggutor can still learn Psychic. It has some leftovers from its, Execute form, so it doesn't stab the Psychic anymore, but it is still really, really good. We got Play Rough. Fortunately, none of those guys learn it. Rock Slide, no one can learn it. I would have thought that maybe Alolan Exeggutor can learn Rock Slide, but unfortunately it can't. No Scalds. We got Sludge Bomb. Most of these things are poison types. Every one of them can learn it. Even Parasect and Exeggutor, who have weaknesses to the same type. Very unique to see Sludge Bomb, but we'll see. It's great on things like Venusaur, and I'm using it on my Exeggutor set. So, Shadow Ball, no one's learning Shadow Ball. We take those. I'm not a fan of Shadow Ball, you guys know that. I do want to say, the Eggies can learn Self-Destruct. You guys have seen me use it before. I think it's hilarious. So 200 base move, and it's so funny when you just self-destruct things. I think it's hilarious. If you're looking for meme teams, self-destruct's the way to go. I'm actually going to be showing you guys a pretty cool meme team using self-destruct on some Eggies in some future videos. I have some cool stuff planned for that. No one's learning Toss. That makes sense. They don't have arms. Solar Beam's not that great. It's obviously a 120 base. Sorry, 200. What? This used to be a 120 move. When did this get buffed? I just noticed this. Bro, I'm gonna use Solar Beam. That is crazy good. I'm gonna use this on something. I'm gonna hit you guys with a Solar Beam team relatively soon, I think. That's gonna be fun. I didn't even notice it. See, you learn something new every day. No Stealth Rocks. Substitute's great on so many of these Pokemon. It's such a good move. Highly recommend it. Superpower on Exeggutor. It's really good against things like Snorlax. You don't really need it for things like Rhydon and like Dugtros and stuff like that, but because you already have the Power Whip. But let's see, what else can you be hitting with this? That's like Chansey, another one that you one-shot with the Superpower. So pretty decent choices. Like if they think you're gonna use something weird, just slam their Snorlax with the Superpower. Does a lot of damage. I think it does about 80%. So if it's taking a couple turns of rocks, slam a Superpower, kick those big KOs from an Adamant Alolan Exeggutor. Pretty good stuff. No T-Bolts. I'll say that both the Eggies can learn Teleport because they're both like Psychic type-ish Pokemon. Teleport's pretty good. You guys have seen me talk about it in the past. We're going to be showing the next team building type team we're going to be showing off is a team based around Teleport. I'm giving you guys a little bit of a preview. It should be going up probably on Sunday, so that's going to be pretty good. Unfortunately, these guys learn Taunt, no Surf. Toxic Grid, all these things, but again, most of these Pokemon, I think almost all of them have sleep-inducing moves, because I think Sleep's just a tier 1 up above Poison, but that's just my opinion. Nothing's learning U-Turn, no Will-O-Wisp, X-Scissor, you can use X-Scissor or Leech Life. They're both 80 base power moves, but Leech Life restores half the HP back to you that you deal. So, like, obviously Leech Life's just going to be a little bit better. No Waterfalls, no Thunder Waves or Thunders, or Mega Horns. That'd be pretty cool, but none of these things have horns, really. No Bulk Ups, Poison Jab. Victory Bell can learn Poison Jab, and it's stabbed. I really do want to say that if you can't get Sucker Punch on Victory Bell, you don't want to use a Heart Skill, you can totally use Poison Jab, but then in that scenario, you might want to be like a Jolly Victory Bell, so you're not relying on the speed from Sucker Punch as much. But I don't really think you have room for it, even though it's like a really, really good move on Victory Bell because it stabs it. Dream Eater. The Eggies can learn Dream Eater, and the Exeggutor, regular Kanto Exeggutor, stabs the Dream Eater. That's big. That's huge. So much damage. Holy moly. That'd be something pretty cool to see, if I do say so myself. Maybe someone could eventually make that into a video or something. Last one, we got Iron Tail. And regular, Alolan Exeggutor can actually learn Iron Tail. It has a tail. You can see it back there. One thing about Iron Tail, I was looking up calcs. I was like, ooh, Iron Tail. Could I ever use that? And I thought about it. Because, like, it's a 100 base move. So that means it's going to be super, if it's super effective against, like, a rock type, you go up to 200. You may be thinking, that's it, just Power Whip those things. Power Whip is super effective against rock types. It goes up to 240, and then, you, like, stab it. It's, like, crazy. Well, what do we talk about a Pacific rock type? You know, like a rock flying type. Like, probably the most popular Pokemon in the game, Aerodactyl. Would Adamant's Iron Tail from an Alolan Exeggutor KO like a Jolly Aerodactyl? And the answer is no. It does like 75 to 83%. But what's Aerodactyl really doing to you? It's probably not doing that much. Also, Aerodactyl, like, if it takes Stealth Rocks damage at any time, you actually can KO with Iron Tail. So if you want to create a team where you know you're going to be fighting Aerodactyls in the mid-game, not as the lead, so maybe taking one tick of Stealth Rocks damage, you can guarantee KO any Aerodactyl after Stealth Rocks with an Iron Tail from an Adamant Alolan Exeggutor. That's just a calc that's weird. I do not recommend it, and the only thing you'd ever use this on is Aerodactyl, unless you wanted to go for like the 20% defense drop from Iron Tail. Don't recommend it. This move can miss. It's not great, but it's hilarious. So maybe someone will do that in the future. And guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this little top 5 series. I know I did things a little bit differently this time. I was a little bit more casual. I think I went through the team building process a little bit faster than normal. But again, hopefully you guys like this content. Please let me know if you got to the end and what type you want to see me use in the next video. We still have things like Rock, Poison, Psychic. What are some other ones that I've written down? Fighting. Let's see, we have like one more really good one. Rock, Poison, Psychic, Fighting. And a lot of people want me to do things. Oh, we also have Ground too. We also have things like Ghost and Dragon and Fairy and Steel that people want me to work on. But there's not really that many Pokemon for those teams. So I really don't know how I would handle it. I would say, you know, maybe I'll make, like, for the Ghost one, I'll do, like, an Alolan Marowak set, and then I'll just do, like, 4 different Gengar sets, because Gengar has, like, 3 or 4 different sets that are probably usable. Let me know if you want to see something like that in the comments. Hopefully you do. Maybe you don't. Let me know, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.